those onions, Aaron?
Yeah, that's one done, one to go.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Oh, God, fantastic. They're big ones, aren't they? But it is what gives this particular dish that I'm making now its flavour, as well as two other key ingredients. See if you can guess what we're making. We've got beef, mushrooms, cream, and a lot of onions.
You're making stroganoff by any chance?
You got it in one. Beef stroganoff, a dish that was a big hit in the sort of 70s, early 80s. And my mum's recipe for beef stroganoff appeared in a book she wrote in the early 80s. But she did actually use the original Russian recipe because it really is a Russian recipe, not just some creation. And in her recipe, there were no mushrooms. But, of course, the stroganoff that we all know and love has mushrooms in. So I put some mushrooms back in. Didn't think it would be the same without. Blessed peace. Is that nice? But it's not for long. Now that I've got the beef cooked, and the next thing to go in are those gorgeous mushrooms. I'm just using a sort of very, very standard button mushrooms slice. You could get fancy, dress it up, modernise it with, I don't know, maybe some shiitake mushrooms or some oyster mushrooms. Whatever you like. Play with food. It's fine to modernise it, but I'm sticking with good old-fashioned button mushrooms. These get cooked in a little butter. I use oil for the beef. But if you use too much butter in a pan, then you end up with it burning. So let's get those in. Seems like a lot, but they will cook down quite a lot. I've turned the heat up under the pan now so that, again, we can get the mushrooms frying rather than stewing. It is important with mushrooms because they do produce a lot of liquid, but you have to be careful not to burn the butter at the same time, one of the great conundrums. Now, last but not least, we're going to be frying those onions. And I think those are tender and translucent enough. They've taken on some of the colour from the frying mushrooms as well. And at this point, we just return all the beef and all the mushrooms to the pan. Now let's mix those in together.
So is there some sort of history behind this dish then?
Well, I think there's some debate about who it really was named after, but it was obviously one of the Stroganoff family. And there was a Count Stroganoff, a 19th century Count Stroganoff, who was an ambassador, so it might have been him. But it is something that really is made in Russia, although more in hotels than I think than people's homes. And it's probably been changed quite a lot since we've got our hands on it here. Right, pepper in, salt in. The next thing to do is to add a little bit of flour. And this helps thicken the sauce slightly. And if you're using sour cream, I'm actually going to be using creme fraiche, but if you're using genuine sour cream, you must put the flour in because it will, the sour cream splits if it gets overheated. Creme fraiche is richer, so it doesn't. With cream, the more butterfat there is, the less likely it is to split in the pan. Give it a good stir so that we mix all the flour in and it gets moistened by the juices in the pan and the oil. And now, the killer ingredient, that sounds a bit drastic, doesn't it? It is lovely, rich creme fraiche into the pan. And this melts down to form the sauce. So in it goes. Stir it around. It'll absorb some of the flour, mix with the flour. So that'll help thicken it slightly. And you just let it simmer for a minute or two until it's as thick as you want it to be. Because I'm going to serve it with, I think, some tagliatelle or some noodles. But you could also serve it with rice. And if you serve it with rice, definitely you want some sauce to soak down into the rice. So it's juicy and full of mushroom creamy flavours.
Sounds delicious.
It makes me think of those late 70s, early 80s dinner parties, really before nouvelle cuisine hit us, wham. And cream became a not entirely pleasant word. I won't go as far as a dirty word. And so obviously this is a dish that is not an everyday kind of dish. This is for when you've got your mates around or somebody you want to impress. It's very easy to do. but it is quite glamorous and rich and luxurious. Just have a little taste, see how that tastes. And really, I think that's about it. Just let it bubble for a minute or so. And, you know, it is such a good dish. Why don't we make this all the time now? Let's revive beef stroganoff.